Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. My name is Dr. Z. I am a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please make sure you do so. This way, not only will you be updated when new video comes out, but you're also going to help everybody else find this free and valuable content. And if you don't yet follow me on Instagram, as I always say, link is below. Ooh, the light just changed. That's nice. Make sure you follow me below on a link. That's where I show up for all of you with additional daily tips, advice, and weekly Q&A. For today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 types of toxic individuals, how to spot them, and why you need to avoid them in your life. Now, all of these 3 categories I came up with, I don't know if they exist, but once you hear about them, they will all sound very fitting. And the names I came up with for them will all sound very, very fitting. Toxic people around gender diverse individuals are abound. It is amazing how some people are very clearly toxic and it's easy to spot them. Oftentimes, they're quite abusive. And like I said, it's almost impossible not to spot them. And then there are people who I'll be talking about today that are maybe have this toxic behavior that is less subtle and not so easy to spot until finally you actually step back and then you take one big look at them and then you realize, oh, now I see. And toxic people are, the way that I think about toxic people is analogous to leeches. They really latch onto you. They drain your energies. They drain out of your inner resources. There's no positivity to them. They're just ultimately just there to make you feel bad. I wouldn't say that all people who are toxic are intentionally toxic. I think some people are not mindful or self-aware to realize that their behavior toward other people is toxic. And then I think are some people who are genuinely know what they're doing and are being point blank toxic and abusive. Having said that, it's really important for all of you to be able to spot people who are not really there to support you, people who are not there to cheer you on, people who are not there to celebrate your wins. People who are not there who can show up during your most challenging times. Because going through gender transition, or even if you're not going through gender transition, but just living in this world as a gender diverse individual is not easy. And you want to have people who have you back on your side. So having said that, let's take a look at the 3 most common toxic individuals that I see. I want to say flying around because I've been having a fly in my office and it's driving me nuts. Flying around trans folks. The first kind I call the prosecutor. The prosecutor kind is an individual that is constantly out there to prosecute you. It's almost like they have already decided you're guilty and they're out there to make sure to bring up any and all evidence up against you so that they can prosecute you and put you away in jail. Chances are all of you have experienced or seen a prosecutor type in your life. Prosecuting types are the ones who are overly judgmental, and there's the one who don't step in front of you with an open inquiry, but who step in front of you with judgmental, prosecuting notions about your gender. There's a difference between having people in your life, and oftentimes they're family members, who will genuinely be wondering things about your gender identity. And you'll know because when they inquire, there's a space for back and forth discussion. With prosecutors, there's none of that. There's only their way of knowing things about your gender. It's almost as if they are the experts, the most knowledgeable people when it comes to gender. And they're there to tell you that you are wrong and they're right. And like I said, they have decided you're guilty and they're there to prove to you that you are guilty. They're there to prove to you that you are wrong. Prosecutor kinds can exist among your family members. They can exist among your friends. And they exist out there in our world. We all know prosecuting types who are on there on social media, so eager to prove to the rest of the world that genders don't exist, that there's only two genders, that everybody else is crazy and they're brainwashed and it's social contagion. And they're so certain and sure about what they preach. Prosecutor individuals are toxic because they, like I said, it's not about open inquiry. It's all about proving to you that you're wrong. It's all about really proving to themselves that they're right. And in all honesty, they're less interested in proving to you, they're more interested in confirming to themselves their own ignorant beliefs are correct. Prosecuting types are very rigid in their thinking mindset. They're not willing or interested in entertaining any kind of notions or any kind of ideas coming from you. They're only interested in one thing, and that is putting you away for life. That's all they're interested in. You can always spot prosecuting person with a rigid mindset, with their, for example, in a family, a prosecuting kind could be somebody in your family who, every time you discuss your gender identity, who don't just ask you open-ended questions. Can you tell me a little bit more when you started to develop gender dysphoria? They tell you things point blank as an authority. There's an authoritative stance coming from them. And they will say something to the extent of, there's no way you can be transgender. I would have known. I gave birth to you. I raised you. I watched you grow up. So I know, as if this person suddenly went from being a parent to also becoming a gender specialist. This is the prosecuting kind. And the problem with these individuals in your life is that before you know it, they can start planting doubts in your minds. And those doubts begin to mass with your own sense of knowing, with your own feelings. And before you know it, you start mistrusting yourself. And this is why prosecuting types are so detrimental to your own gender evolution. Again, I want to be very clear. Big difference between individuals who are coming to you with open self-inquiry, who want to actually help you. The aim is actually to create space to help you question and have a healthy self-analysis of your own gender confusion versus telling you how it is. So that's the first type to watch out for. And chances are all of you know a prosecuting type. God knows. I met a lot of them on social media who are so eager to tell me I'm 1,000% wrong and they're 1,000% right. And while I am incredibly open-minded to, and a lot of times I have had open conversation with people where they will bring up a point and I'd be the first one to say, that's a great point. I have not thought about that. I also seen a lot of prosecuting types who are so sure they have a PhD in gender studies by just, I don't know, waking up on the wrong side of the bed. So that's the first type. The second type of toxic individuals that I see most often is the limiter. Like I said, I came up with this name, so but they all make sense, don't they? So who is the limiter? The limiter is a type of individual in your life who behaves like this. First, they are overly supportive. They will tell you they're fine with your gender identity. They will be there for you. They will never leave you. Oh, isn't it wonderful you're discovering yourself? Let me help you. It's almost they initially are overbearing. It's too much. Sometimes I have clients who even wonder, who come to me and they say, this is kind of unusual behavior. It's almost like they're too cheerleading me in. That's a limiter. Why is the limiter? Because eventually they will start backpedaling and things will become conditional. Things will become conditional, such as, yes, I will cheerlead you on. And yes, it's so wonderful and I will support you. But only if. There's always but only. So in other words, they limit things that you can and cannot do, hence the limiter. So it will be, for example, somebody telling you, oh, it's so wonderful. Of course, I'll be with you and I will never leave you. But you can never show up as your authentic self in public. Oh, it's so wonderful. Yes, of course, I'll support you. But only if you don't go through gender transition. Oh, it's so wonderful. Yes, I'm going to be there for you. But for this Christmas, don't you dare to tell anybody else about your gender identity. It always comes with an ultimatum. The limiter limits, and the reason why they're toxic is because they have their best interest. They're thinking about their own self-preservation at expense of your mental and physical health. They're not thinking about you. There's a difference between somebody who is genuinely maybe worried about how the rest of the family gonna think or whatnot, and they just have an open conversation with you in a sense of, look, Christmas is coming up, and I'm not sure if I'm ready yet to deal with people asking questions. How do you think you and I can both approach the situation? See, there's an open dialogue there. There's open space there. With a limiter, there's no open dialogue. There is, yes, we can do this. And yes, of course, you can be yourself at home, but don't you dare go outside the door being yourself. Don't you dare the rest of the world to see you. So it's very conditional. There are conditions imposed on your existence, on your well-being. The limiter is the most common toxic type of behavior in a confines of a relationship. And the longer you've been in a relationship, the longer you've been married or been living together, the more the person feels like they have a right to impose constraints and conditions on you, because suddenly they feel like they have that right, that leverage, because I've been with you for 20 years. So of course I can tell you what you can and cannot do. And that's toxic, my friends. That's very toxic. Relationship should be back and forth flow. It should be a conversation, a healthy conversation, an open space. There should be room for negotiation, not for ultimatums or ultimate conditions. So this is the second most common type of toxic individual, is a limiter. The third and the final one that I see all of the time is a backstabber. Don't you love that name? The backstabber is kind of similar to limiter in a sense that in the beginning, they're too much. They are supportive. They will tell you all the wonderful things you want to hear. They will never question you. They will just give you the lip service. They will tell you anything that you do want to hear. And then they will stab you in the back. Then they will talk about you behind your back. Then they will talk about you to the friends or the colleagues, and they will talk about you not in a positive way. And oh my God, can you believe this? You know, they're changing their gender and how insane it is. All the negative, toxic stuff. That is a backstabber. The backstabber can also be a partner that's been there with you, that has been telling you everything will be okay, only to suddenly serve you with the worst papers out of nowhere. The backstabber is a person that has this kind of like passive-aggressive stance, whereas the passivity is everything is fine, almost avoidant type. And then the aggression is knife comes out, stabs you in the back. Very, very toxic. The most painful type, because that's the one you never see it's coming. It's not like the limiter, right? I should have actually called the limiter the conditioner. That sounds better. The limiter at least gives you their conditions from the get-go, so you know what you're dealing with. You know they got conditions. You know they're trying to impose ultimatums. The backstabber doesn't do that. The backstabber is like a snake, right? It coils around you, it dances around you, and then it strikes when you least expect it. And I really hate to describe the backstabber that way, but unfortunately, they exist. And unfortunately, all three types, the prosecutor, the limiter, the backstabber, exist among people who don't even mean to be toxic, who don't even mean to be backstabbing, who don't even mean to impose conditions. And then there's people who do mean to do all of those. And a lot of times people are completely unaware of the harm they're doing. The prosecutor, for example, completely unaware how being so judgmental and so trying to prove to you that they know right, they genuinely feel like they're helping you. That's still, it's kind of a benevolent trait in a way, right? But they're not aware. They really need to be more self-aware about their toxicity of their behavior. The limiters, the same way. They think by imposing condition and giving you ultimatums, they're actually helping you. They probably think they're saving you. Same thing with the backstabbers. The backstabber, thinks that they're doing the best thing for you because they don't want to hurt your feelings, all the while talking badly about you behind your back. Like I said, there are definitely people in all these categories who are intentional with all of this. There are also people who are not intentional. Doesn't mean that they are, we should accuse them. Absolutely not. A lot of times, unintentional behavior does more harm than intentional behavior. So these are the three most common toxic people that I see around gender diverse folks. Chances are you experience all three of them, or you have somebody close to you that is heavily leaning one way or another. Comment below, let me know which one you have experienced the most and how you tend to deal with them. Share if you had come across all three of these individual types. Comment below, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.